Let's go ahead and save our scene. How about we do that? So if we go up here to File, Save Scene As, and we can call this level 1. We're only going to make one level, but it will be really fun to make additional levels. So we're going to go ahead and say Save. And you can see that now level 1 appears in the project panel. And you can see now we're in level 1. And we can also go ahead and go File, Save Project. So now our project is saved as we are. The next order of business is going to be to make our obstacles that the player is going to go around. And so that's quite simple. We're just going to make more cubes. Why not? So we're going to go create 3D object cube. And we're going to go over here to inspector to work on it. We're going to name it obstacle. Obstacle, press enter. We're going to give it a y of 0.8. And we're going to give it a z of 5, just so we can see it. We are going to turn on is trigger, because that means that when our player hits it, our player is going to notice. Next, we're going to go under project. We're going to create another material so that we can see these objects. So we'll call it obstacle material. Good, enter. And we're just going to, so we're in obstacle material now, we'll just click this, and I'm just going to make mine black. But you could, look at what your color scheme is going to be. And then I'm going to grab obstacle material, drop it on my object, and now I've got a black cube. And it's named obstacle. Good, okay, so obstacle is a trigger, it's got material. Yeah. All right, now I'm going to talk to you about prefabs. Prefabs rock. In a game, often you would have a whole ton of things in your game that are supposed to have the same quality. So maybe we would make all of these prefabs, all of these obstacles. But then something that would happen sometimes is, say, for example, when you made 25 obstacles, you forgot to tick is trigger. Now you have to open 25 obstacles and make is trigger. So that's a nightmare. Well, it's not a nightmare, but it's not the best use of human time. So what we can do is we can make prefabs. And just to be a little bit organized in here, we can create a folder and we can call it prefabs. Press enter. And while we're here creating folders, let's just create a folder and call it scripts. And drag character movement. Oopsies, I made it inside. Okay, we're going to put character movement script inside scripts. Okay, we did that. Now we're going to take scripts out of prefabs because that was a mistake. Okay, there, okay. So now we've got scripts with only one script, but we're going to make a second one in a minute, so get excited. We got a prefabs folder, and we could also make a materials folder. So that's kind of a general how to be a tidy person. But anyway, let's get back to prefabbing. So to turn this, because we've got it the way we want it, to turn this into a prefab, all we do is drag it into the project panel. We could put it anywhere in the project panel, but we are going to specifically put it in the prefabs folder, which will make it easier for us to find it later. So now the prefabs folder has an object in it called obstacle, and you can see over here that obstacles turned blue, which tells us that it's a prefab, and it's really good to have that nice cue. So if I edit obstacle from here and I change something over here, like say I make it a z of 8, so it's moved to z of 8, but when I drag an obstacle over here, from here that's not going to have changed. So to illustrate, I'm going to take an obstacle from here, I'm going to add it to the scene, okay, and this obstacle just showed up where I put it, okay, so if we look back at this obstacle, it's still at 8, okay? But this obstacle that I just added is trigger, which is what it should have. And I just noticed that I forgot a whole step, and this is why it's great to be working with prefabs. What I forgot to do is I forgot to tag this. So tagging is a wonderful thing. You can tag objects, and then you can use those tags in your script that you write. So if I click on obstacle here, I can see that it's untagged, okay? and I can see that this obstacle is untagged, and I can see that this obstacle is untagged. But I really want them all to be tagged as obstacle. So up here, you can see that it says untagged, but if I tick this, there's no tag that's the one that I want to use, but I can say add tag, and then I can say plus, and I can enter obstacle, and I can press save. And there it is. It's now in among my tags. But it didn't actually get tagged yet. So if we go back and look at obstacle, it's still untagged. But we can now choose obstacle from our list because we've added it. And so I choose obstacle. And now this is tagged as obstacle. So let's see if it worked. Yes. So now this is the beauty of prefabs. You only have to make edits on the prefab, and it fixes all of your versions of the prefab. So we're going to go ahead and make a few more prefabs, and we want to make the game not too challenging. So actually I'm going to put this, let's work on our spacing. So let's go back to this prefab. So your X values should be 1, 0, or -1. So if I put this one at 1, it's on that edge. So we're choosing our lanes here. Y should always be 0.8, and then Z is us moving it up and down the platform. I find that when the game starts, it's a bit weird, but actually that won't matter because your cube won't crash into that one. So we can leave that there. Then we'll just check this one. So let's do X of -1, tab, Y of 0.8. No, that didn't work. 0.8, and Z, I think we're going to be okay there. And I can just press back a little, and then let's select this one. That's going to be the first one that we're going to actually have to run into if we stay straight. But that's X of 0, Z of, let's just make it 9. And then I'm going to grab another prefab, and I'm going to put it here. Okay? And so I'm going to make that one, this one 0.8, and this one, why not 11? 12. Okay? So now I've got these four, obstacles created, and they're great, but I've got this huge platform to populate. So to shortcut that, I'm just going to press Shift to select those three. I'm going to press Command to select this one, and then I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to say Duplicate. And now that I've duplicated those, I can just click and drag out. Okay? And then now I can actually Command and select all of these, and I can right-click and duplicate. There we go. And then I can, I think I can just shift-click. Yeah, did I get anything I don't want? No. And I'm going to command-click these three guys, and I'm going to right-click. Oh, loss. I suffered a loss. Sometimes I don't right-click when I want to. Okay, here we go. Come on, lucky right-click. No way. Here we go. Okay, don't be rude. Okay, command. Okay. There we go. Duplicate. And then I'm going to drag that out. Okay, so that didn't take too long. Look at all the populating we did. Okay, and then I just need a few more, but we don't care. We're just going to leave it there. Okay, so you're going to put all your obstacles onto your platform so that your player has tons of obstacles. And then what you're going to notice is that now your hierarchy is a mess. And it's actually quite easy to tidy up your hierarchy. All you do is create empty, and when you create this empty, it's called game object. I'm going to call it obstacles. Obstacles. Yeah, enter. And then I'm going to shift click and drag these guys on. Good. And then I'm going to shift click and grab these guys on. And now, oh, the calm. Okay, so you got a nice hierarchy. It's called, we're in level 1. We have these things. Over here we've got our prefabs and we've got our scripts, and that's looking kind of tidy. So in the script from the last one, we already added a player controller script, a character movement script, which tells the player to move and allows you to go left and right. But we also want to create a collision script, and this collision script is going to use the tag obstacle, and it's also got a few other features that we're going to get to in a minute. So to add this collision script, we are going to say create C# script, and we are going to call it collision script, and then we're going to double click to open it. And I already put it on my clipboard, and so here it is. And in MonoDevelop, actually we should be seeing, there's something wrong. We should be seeing the other script right here. I don't know what's wrong. So anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and paste in this collision script. So this collision script has some stuff that we're going to talk about later, because we've added UI, which that's user interface. It's going to be text, and we've added scene management. Don't worry about that right now. But the thing we want to look at right now is just this little part that we did, which is on trigger enter. Remember, we turn on the trigger. If the collision is with a game object that's been tagged as obstacle, scene manager load scene is going to be level 1. And so actually this is what we're doing. That's going to restart the game and reload level 1. So I'm just going to save that, and I'm going to come back to Unity. And I'm just going to put collision script into the scripts folder. And I'm going to select the player controller. And oops, I'm going to click on it once, and then I'm just going to add this collision script. Okay, so now we have the collision script, and this box finish text is a variable that we created in the script. We'll get to that now. Okay, so another thing that we want to do, if we just look back to this MonoDevelop for a minute. Okay, MonoDevelop's behaving strangely. I'm just going to take these scripts out. Okay, and I'm just going to go back to MonoDevelop and see if it stops freaking out. No. Anyway, so, well, there it is. So we've got our scripts in MonoDevelop, we've got our movements, we've got our stuff. So now let's see what we would want to do next. Oh yeah, if you look at the collision script, what we did is we created a game object with the tag of finish, and if the player hits finish, then it's going to get you did it. So what we need to do is we need to create a game object that is going to be the finish. And that is going to be another cube. So we're going to go create 3D object cube. And we're going to call this one finish. And we're going to tag it with finish. I chose a tag that exists. And then for the positioning, I think I wrote this out for myself. Yeah, it's 0.8, of course, still. And the Z position is going to be 99, so it's right at the end. And then the scale is going to be 3, 3, 1. And it is going to be a trigger. So we've just created this finish object. It's sitting at the very end of our platform like a wall that our player is going to hit. Fabulous. And so now we want to create some text. And the text is going to help us communicate with our players. We're actually going to create 2 texts. One is going to be the message that pops up, and that's going to be the game over text. So if I say create UI, which is a user interface text, I've actually created it, but in the scene view, it's really bizarre and hard to see. But if you go up here and click on game view, you can see it. So here's the text, and it's sitting there like that. Now, we don't want it to sit there. We actually want it to appear kind of up here. So we're going to play around with the positioning of the text. And so up here, we're going to call it game over. Game over. And we don't need to tag it. We're not going to use tags because we can use this. We're going to drag it in. And the text we want to say, I'm just going to say something nice, like you did it. That's a nice thing, right, usually? No, you did it. That would be bad. Over here, we always need to set these to overflow when you're at my skill level, because if it's not at overflow, the text disappears if it doesn't fit into the space. And we're going to make the font size here 32, so it's big. Could be way bigger than that. I mean 72, the year of my birth. Good year. So here, we want to bring it up. So if I chose some settings previously, I think if I just, if I change the, okay, let's do this. First, let's choose this. So I'm going to press Alt and Shift and choose this. So now it's centered. Okay, that's great. But then I want it higher. So if I enter 150 here, it comes up. Now don't worry, because the black cubes aren't going to be there when you finish. And anyway, we're going to change it. I don't want it to be black. I want it to be purple, because I think like a light purple. Well, that's a good purple. So I think these, you know, white, purple, and black and blue look good together. Okay, so now I've got the text and it's like that. Okay, so right now it's showing in scene view, but in our script, we're going to change that. Now we want to add one more piece of text, and that text is going to be the instructions that are going to sit permanently over here on the left. So I'm going to say create UI text, and this text, you can see it way down here, we want this text to say what, like avoid the black cubes to reach the end. Now, you can see how it's been cut off. That's why we need to turn this to overflow and this to overflow. And let's change this font to 32. And I didn't, let's see. What I'm going to do, you can put things on different lines. So I'm going to say use the left and right arrows to move. Avoid the black cubes to reach the end. Okay? And then for positioning, we want to put it up at the top. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to choose this one, top left. So Alt-Shift-Click, and it's up there, and then I can see it's actually interfering with our vision. So I am going to use the left and right arrows to move, avoid the black cubes to reach the end. Okay, so that's kind of nice, and the only thing I'd say is it's too close to the edge there, so is that X? Yeah. So I'm going to give it an X of 50. Okay, works for me. And then actually I don't like how sometimes it's against one and sometimes it's against the other, so is that Y or Z? I think it's Y. I'm going to say, I think that means minus 50. Yeah, okay. So that's okay, and then it's not quite enough contrast, so I'm going to make the text white, and that is. Okay, so this text, we've now got two texts, and let's rename this text to instructions. Good. Okay, so it's called instructions. I pressed enter to set it. So now we have text over here. We have this text, which is going to disappear in a minute. So now, if we click on player controller, when we added the script about the finished text, we created, let's just look at that for a second because this is pretty cool. Okay, this is the way MonoDevelop is supposed to work, all right? So you can click it back and forth between your scripts. Sometimes your scripts have interactions. So this is what we have here. We had created public text, finished text, and if you create a variable as public, that means that it will show up. So move speed is public, and that's why it shows up here, and finished text is public, and that's why it shows up here, okay? And at the start, finished text is going to be nothing, right? Because it's only the area between the quotes is what is going to be there. And then we've got this on trigger enter. If it collides with obstacle, it's going to reload level 1. If it collides with finish, it's going to change the finish text to you did it, okay? So that's how the script is looking right now. And so what that means is here in finish text, we have nothing assigned to it. So what we want to do is we want to actually grab game over. Should have called it finish text to be easier on ourselves. But if we drag game over into the finish text, that is going to tell the script that that's the game over. So we have instructions, we have finish text. Okay. Now, another important step we need to do is we need to actually run the build. So anytime in your scripting that you use this scene management, that Unity doesn't know the scenes are there until you've run the build. So we're going to run the build. So to run a build in Unity, you just say File, Build Settings. And right here you can see we have no scenes in our build. So if the script said load scene, Unity wouldn't know what to do. So if I say add open scenes, it adds our level 1. And so now Unity knows that. So we're just going to leave it here at PC Max, Linux, build. And then we get to name it. So I'm going to call it simpler running game. Okay? And I'm going to save. Once the build is done, you can just close this window and the build should actually work. I'm just going to try it in game. So I'm going to press play here, and this gives us just a sample of the game. Now, don't worry about what happens to the lighting. Okay, I can tell you right now. Oh, yeah, the triggers are working. Don't worry about the lighting. Okay, so now we're hitting the final trigger and we get the you did it text. Okay, so actually it seems like the game worked. So then actually, there you go. We made a game. It's pretty easy, right? I think anyone can do this.